Hello and welcome back. This is episode 3. We just spoke about the AirSticks original, which we're using virtual reality gaming controllers. And in this episode, I want to reveal the new AirSticks, what we call 2.0, that we've built here at Monash University's Sensi Lab. So the reason that we wanted to get away, and when I say we, I mean a team has now grown out of this project, which is really exciting. At first it was myself and Mark Havriliv who would program a bit of software to use the Razer Hydra gaming controllers. But now we were going to build hardware as well. So we needed a team that could design the hardware, 3D print it, do all the electronics, make decisions about what electronics to use, what was accessible, what was cheap, what could we get at a moment where there was a semiconductor shortage. So all these factors to hardware, it's been really interesting to note. And then we also, again, needed to take the data from this sensor that's in here, in this little box. This is called the AirSticks box, so we're still not a stick. And take that data and have it sent to the computer somehow. So we're using Bluetooth because now this is wireless. The previous version was wired. And then on the computer again, use that data to make music. So for me, the major thing I wanted to do in building new hardware was actually building a drumstick, something I could really play in space around me, something that had some feedback off the back as well. But at first, to prototype it, we built little sensors that we could put onto a drumstick, and I could play drums in space and start getting the data to be converted into drumming performances. So this is a video that I'll play from within lockdown, where I'm at home a lot, just practicing using this little thing and figuring out what it can do. And I like for you to consider that this is extending the strike. It's not just a normal strike that you do on a drum kit, but you can do all these other things now that the data is being sent about where you are even before you hit a drum. So this is just a little demo that I did of an early prototype of the AirSticks. In this next video, I incorporate the drums back into my practice. This is a constant tension for me of playing the AirSticks without a drum kit in front of me, or playing the AirSticks with a drum kit. Can I hit the drums when there's a sensor on the stick? And what does it do to my playing as a drummer? So this is, again, at home, little experiment with the first prototype of the AirSticks. So as I started developing these little sensors, this is the next version where we went, you know what, let's make a little box that you can just wear. We can start giving it to other people to use. I started thinking about, okay, what ways is there to map this that extends the drumming possibilities? And so in this next video called Taking Flight, I'll reveal how it was made after you see it, but it's trying to play with the idea of the impossible movement, impossibly fast. Things that you can do with electronic music and sensors that you can't do with acoustic music. So the AirSticks send information to the computer in the form of basically 4 major categories. One category is called roll, which is this way. One is yaw, which is this way. One is pitch, which is this. And then something that we call energy. So the energy you're putting in any direction. There is more data that comes out of this, but to simplify things for us as the instrument inventor, those are the major 4 categories of data that we're getting from this and then mapping that to sound. So in that last video, I was using the energy to create a sound. Now, because we're using the computer, we can tell the computer only make a sound in a certain time. So for the start of that video, the tempo was set very low, and any time that I managed to get the energy beyond a certain threshold, a sound would be heard within the subdivisions of the sound. The computer was playing maybe every 100 milliseconds. And what I wanted to do was actually tell the computer over the next minute, speed that up to the point where it's impossible. And what I tried to do was lock into it when the tempo was set at something that I could physically engage in and actually play at 100 milliseconds. But then just try to keep up with it and see what would happen. And then the gestures, as you see, change, and eventually, because it becomes so fast, it actually turns into more of a shaker kind of sound. So these things were really interesting for me in the mapping process of, okay, we can make a sound, but how can we make a piece or create some tension between what is possible and impossible in these movements? Now, we took that to an extreme with this next piece. So this is Lockdown 2021, and me and co-composer Kieran Frame are invited to do a video piece. So it's not a live performance. This is something we are going to give to TEDx Sydney to play for their viewers at the Opera House, a video piece from Melbourne, filmed here at SensiLab. So I'll let you watch that for a moment, and then we can discuss what is happening in this video. So by this point in the project, I felt like I had developed a series of gestures or a language for the instrument. I started to get to know the instrument well enough to be able to almost score for it or write different ways for it. I knew its capabilities. And again, I was really aware of this kind of idea of roll and yaw and pitch and the energy. So what we set out to do in that video you saw, Unreal Time, was to actually not use the AirSticks at all. So if you rewind and look, they're just drumsticks. And I'm just in a room moving in time to music that we had constructed. So we composed this music kind of beat by beat, and I made a gesture with each of those beats that matched the way that I imagined the AirSticks could be played. And that led to some tension as well with some of the colleagues in making this video piece. Was it authentic to just mime a piece like this? What do you think? Do you think you were cheated now that you know that the piece didn't actually happen, that I was just moving at the same time and it looked like I was triggering these sounds and it looked like I had control, even though I had no control? Well, how does that make you feel? Is it inauthentic? I personally think because it's a video piece, I wanted to explore that. And we never mentioned the AirSticks as the instrument being played here. This was really an etude, a way of figuring out what would the ideal AirSticks performance at this stage be, and how can we tell a little bit about the history of electronic music in a piece. So we actually sampled one of the most sampled drum beats of all time, well actually the most sampled drum beat of all time, the Amen break. We sampled the earliest recording of an opera singer. And we incorporated some elements of sounds that we thought were important in our history of electronic music. So that was Unreal Time, and it came out of some other ways of thinking about this tension between miming and playing live. So I had this opportunity as someone who was using the AirSticks to not only play live, but also to incorporate backing tracks. I think just like anyone else can use backing tracks. And in previous performances, I would go between doing things that were authentic or real and inauthentic and not real at the time. And part of the reason I did that was because there'd be several performances that I would do on the AirSticks where after it, people would come up to me and say, "You were so in sync with that backing track." And I felt like, oh, wow, it's really hard to convince people that this technology actually is doing the work right there in front of them. So that felt to me like it gave me leeway to at times go against that and lean into the sound that I wanted people to hear and the movement that I wanted to make with that sound without necessarily controlling or having the two in sync like they usually are with the AirSticks. There would be times in my performances where people were so convinced that I was doing everything that they thought my eyes were actually controlling the music. There were other times where I would use live video feeds that would move with me, or people in the audience thought that I was perfectly choreographed with that video. So this tension for the audience and their belief system of what is possible, what isn't, is something that I felt I couldn't control as a performer. So it felt to me that I could just lean into whatever way that I wanted to perform these bits of music, these different compositions. So Unreal Time was a way for me to go, okay, let's go all the way with this. Let's completely make a piece where there is no control and see what we learn from it. So in the next episode, I'll move on to working with other people. So far, I really have only worked with other people in the context of them supporting the AirSticks project, but I still perform with the AirSticks in bands or in solos, with visuals, or even in miming contexts. But in the next episode, I want to start to introduce some other people who've really inspired the way that the AirSticks have evolved and have taken the AirSticks to other practices. But before I finish, I want to introduce my dog, Rasley, who I've been doing some performances with, and maybe end this episode with a little video of him using the AirSticks in a dog toy in a very authentic performance. There's no miming here. I couldn't get him to do anything musical, but I could definitely get him to play and enjoy using the ball like he would any ball. But what was interesting is in working with him on these performances, he started gravitating towards this ball at home more, even when it didn't make a sound. There was something about the ritual for him of going to venues and playing fetch with strangers in these places that I think he found really powerful. And I think people in the room also really enjoyed watching a dog play in front of them and sound emerging out of his movements with this ball. So this is a little clip of Rasley the dog playing with the AirSticks.